Hello and welcome to Game Theory. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today, Bryce Simon and I are here. We're going to dive deep into the NBA's rookie class. We're going to talk Zaccharie Risacher, Zach Edey, all of the Zachs that are available across the NBA, as well as all of the other rookies like Alex Sarr, Bub Carrington, Ryan Dunn, whoever comes up, we will discuss them. But first, let's hit the music.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown.
Bang! Bang! What's this gonna be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. But if you watch the tape, what you will see completely orchestrated this game. What's going on, Bryce?
What's up, Sam? I have to wonder. I just got done coaching 5, 6, and 7-year-old girls, and now
only one of whom hates me.
Only one of whom hates you and doesn't listen to me. She really kind of pisses me off. I'm like, hey, dribble the ball low, and she's like, no. I was like, God dang, Raleigh, like, whose kid are you? Also, wasn't the one that threw up at practice today 10 minutes in, which took kind of eliminated one. I have 22 girls in the gym, Sam, and I can only use one half of the court because the other half is getting cleaned up. But I go to that to talking about the highest level of basketball in the world. I just wonder who else in their life has that variance of 6, 7, 8-year-old girls basketball to NBA basketball. I love it. It's amazing.
Well, I feel like this is like the JJ Redick move, isn't it? He was coaching like his son, right? Who was like 10 years old or whatever. Now,
yeah,
then was going to podcast about it. So literally it was JJ Redick. So
yeah, I don't
JJ Redick, Bryce Simon. This is what it is.
I don't foresee that in my future at all. Listen, it is kind of fun though. There's nothing better watching kids that age improve and get better and be able to do something for the first time, because you're just you are literally teaching them how to dribble, how to pass, how to get, how to shoot. But the way they have trouble controlling little bodies is kind of funny sometimes. It's like, no, just put your hand like this, and they're like, look at you like you're an idiot. So, but they laugh, they smile, and hopefully they're falling in love with the game. That's all we can hope for.
Except for one who is vomiting.
She was a trooper though. She stayed there the rest of practice, waited till her parents came to get her. And, so she was a trooper. So it was, we rallied and we got some good stuff out of practice still.
That rocks. That absolutely rocks. Okay. So we're talking about rookies today, Bryce. We're going to dive into guys like Zach Edey, Zaccharie Risacher, Alex Sarr, probably talk about your guy, Ron Holland in Detroit. The way that I envision us talking through this is just going in draft order.
Perfect.
And stop it. This is where your OCD is going to get mad at me.
Yes, it is. I know what you're
like,
going to do.
For instance, when we get to the Wizards, stopping and talking about all of their rookies.
I knew you would do this. Yep.
And that way, clump them. It makes sense for people who are Wizards fans that just want to stop and listen to their their players. Be like, hey, that way it's a one-stop shop for everything Bub Carrington, Kyshawn George, and Alex Sarr, as opposed to just Alex Sarr.
Fair enough.
Okay. So what have been your overall impressions of this rookie class before we really dive in and go through it all?
Yeah, I think it's what we thought it was going to be, right? I mean, none of us thought that people were going to be overly impressed or overwhelmed. We've seen some interesting individual performance, not to get too much in. We saw Jared McCain go crazy last night, right? That was Wednesday night where he put up the last couple of games. Risacher is having a game where he put up big numbers, but overall inconsistent. Even Zach Edey, who a lot of people thought was going to, he's out of the starting lineup now all of a sudden in Memphis. And so I think there's been some surprises right there in Memphis, to be quite honest. But in general, the class has been a little bit of what we thought in terms of nobody's just averaging 18 a game and putting up crazy numbers. But there have been some surprises in terms of guys that have filled roles on good teams like Jaylen Wells, like a Ryan Dunn, that have been impressive.
Yeah. So generally agree with that. I'm unsurprised. I think the thing I am least surprised by is that we have a number of players from lower in the draft order that are exceeding the production of players drafted ahead of them.
Sure.
Because the players that were drafted by and large early in this class were younger and were seen as like real projects. There were very few teenagers, 20-year-olds that were ready to go from the jump in this class. And we knew that early on. Like when we talked about Alex Sarr, like we had Alex Sarr both at number 1 on our boards. We talked about him as this is going to take a lot of time.
Yep.
This is not a like rookie year player. This is a hopefully 3rd year. Like he is a real starter. 5th year, he is like a star, like hopefully like emerging into like a real, borderline-ish star given the defense and everything like that. And I think his defense has been really good to this point. Well, outside of last night getting cooked by Wemby, but like, this is going to be a process for him. Zaccharie Risacher, it's been a process in terms of his shooting, right? He's been very up and down with the jumper. Stephon Castle, I thought he was really bad through his first like 6 or 7 games. He's starting to come around a little bit more over the last few games and is playing really, really well. But all of these guys that had like some star equity, we thought that were younger players, we also thought it was going to take some time for them to come around. So I guess that my overall immediate reaction is I'm not surprised that guys like Ryan Dunn, Ajay Mitchell, Zach Edey, obviously. Edey's just kind of a different beast because he was the multi-time player of the year. Jaylen Wells. Some of these older rookies are the ones that are a little bit more valuable than the younger ones.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, just looking back through the draft order and, Risacher, Sarr, Sheppard, freshman, Castle, freshman. We talked about Ron Holland and how much of a project that was. Salaün, project. Dillingham, project. Cody Williams, Buzelis, project. Topic and Carter injured, so like you look at the lottery, and I skipped a few guys there, obviously on purpose. We'll talk about them, but like it's a lot of that, and that's a lot of what we've seen. And even a guy like Reed Sheppard, we talked about how hard it was going to find consistent minutes because that Houston Rockets team is so talented and so loaded with young talent. And so like when we talk about the Wizards, there's a lot more opportunity for them just to say, hey, you 3 guys go out there and we're going to play young and we're going to buy into that. The Houston Rockets are top 6 in the West right now, as we say here tonight. So they can't afford to wait for a 19, 20-year-old kid to figure it out and play in big minutes and go through all their struggles. So it always comes down to some of those different contexts in terms of where these players land as well.
Totally. That's right. Like Reed Sheppard, we thought he looked amazing in Summer League, was one of the best players there. And he's just behind Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet's really fucking good. He hasn't played great this year so far, but he's a great player, right? And then they have Jalen Green, who's on the ball all the time. And then off the bench, they have Amen Thompson and Tari Eason, who have been, I don't know,
awesome.
They're like 2 best players so far.
Awesome. The word you're looking for is awesome.
Yeah. Unbelievable. So, so much of this is situation. So much of it is readiness to play. So much of it is like, if you are disappointed in Alex Sarr so far, I just wouldn't think too much about it. You know what I mean? Like this was always going to take so much time for those guys.
Yep. Yeah. And again, just to like hammer that point, if Reed Sheppard was on the Wizards, I would assume he'd be putting up he would probably be leading rookies in points per game because he would be getting that volume. But as it stands, he's not, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not trying to say that what Bub Carrington has done isn't impressive just because he's on the Wizards. I'm just saying, like, I think sometimes we got to be careful whenever we look at those things because of the situation, the role that's asked of people, the opportunity, all of that. So yeah, the guys that have star potential, I think that's the best point. The guys that we thought might have star potential, we always knew it wasn't going to show in season 1.
Yep, that's right. And also shout out to the folks over at Home Field, free sponsorships. If you want to sponsor the show, hit me by all means. In honor of Zach Edey leading the rookie rankings today, we got Purdue Pete, baby. Shout out the folks at Home Field with a beautiful, beautiful hoodie that they release, every year. Are you a home field person, Bryce?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So Home Field is an apparel company that sells like old school kind of stuff. And we are fans here at the Game Theory podcast, Bryce.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said I love them. You misheard. you misheard what I said. I said Home Field is the best.
Yeah. Okay. So before we dive into some of the other sponsors, let's actually give the people what they want and talk about Zaccharie Risacher.
Okay.
Number 1 overall pick to the Atlanta Hawks. Risacher has been interesting to this point. It's been a mixed bag because I think that the process actually looks pretty good. So much of what I tend to talk about with rookies is what does the process look like versus the results, right? And I think Risacher's process looks exactly what Atlanta could have hoped for with the number 1 overall pick. He's averaging 11.7 points, 4 rebounds, 1.3 assists. But he's shooting 37% from the field and 24% from 3. Risacher, the thing we talked about last year was the shooting fluctuated in a big way. He went on like that massive, crazy 3-month stretch where he was at like 48%, and then had like 2 months right after that where he was at like 21% from 3. So this could just be like a quick adjustment period. It could be a stretch where he's struggling from 3. The jumper is going to be the key with Risacher. But what I will say about him is there hasn't really been a point this year where I felt like, even though the shot isn't falling, that he doesn't belong on the court.
Yeah.
Because he processes it really well. He passes the ball quite quickly. And his defensive awareness and where he's been on the court at all times, he just knows exactly where he has to be all the time. He covers so much ground at 6'9". I've really liked the process for him, even if the results in terms of the shooting percentages haven't been amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see him with a game against the Hawks, and he makes a second effort block, and then he runs the floor in transition and knocks down a corner catch and shoot. Or on the weak side, he makes an X out rotation. Like he understands the game. He has that length. At times, I'm like, man, he's a little more athletic than maybe what I gave him credit for. I think what stood out to me the most, and this plays into your looks like he belongs comment, is he's confident. I think he stayed confident. I think he stayed aggressive. He's tried to be physical even with his slender frame. And that stuff stands out even for rookies. Just seeing somebody that's confident, that's willing to attack, that's willing to take those shots. And yeah, it'll always come down. If he's a career 25% 3-point shooter, this was the wrong pick. It's not going to work. And we were all wrong to have him as high as we did. Those of us that had him that high. But if he ends up, getting better, being a 35% 3-point shooter, if he upticks high 20s, low 30s this year into 35, into 37, I think he has the other stuff to be a really good two-way wing. And I know we're trying to stay on rookies here. I find myself watching that Hawks team and being very intrigued by the combination of him and Jalen Johnson together. Just the versatility that both of them could offer. I'm like, this could be really, really fun to watch if, quite honestly, both of them get the catch and shoot 3-point stuff figured out.
Well, and the other guy to throw in there is Dyson Daniels too. And Dyson's presence,
the defense,
he's great. He's so fantastic. I love Dyson. But the thing that stands out to me with what Atlanta is doing here, they're getting big wings with feel to play around Trae Young. Now, the issue for this is that Trae plays best around shooters, right? Like,
yeah.
He needs to be able to like get in the middle of the court and spray the ball out and be able to do all that stuff, right? But all 3 of these guys have a chance to shoot at least. If you were ranking these 3 in terms of likelihood to shoot, how would you rank them? I think I would have Risacher at the top, in all honesty.
Risacher, Johnson. What's Daniels at for his career?
He was at 31 each of the first 2 years, and I think he's like in the high 20s this year.
Probably John. Yeah, Risacher definitely won.
Yeah, I agree.
Then probably Jaylen.
I think I'm with that too. But all 3 of them, I think, have a chance. Like, it's funny. Dyson's shot hasn't really fallen yet this year. but I think it looks better.
So that's what I was okay. So that's what I was gonna say. That's why I was struggling. I believe in Dyson's mechanics off the top of my head more than I believe in Jaylen's. Like if Dyson takes a shot, I'm like, I think it looks better. Am I crazy? I think that's how I feel. But if you go just off the percentages, that probably isn't right. So yeah, I feel very comfortable thinking like I've always believed in Risacher's jumper though. Like I've always thought it looked like it was going to be able to get there. Yeah, those other two, that's kind of an interesting dynamic with that. But
if all three of those guys shoot, I mean, this is the perfect team to put around Trae Young. That's like literally you can't build a team better to put around Trae Young than those three. If those three shoot it,
put a lot of threat. Put 5 years ago Clint Capella there that catches lobs, protects the rim a little bit with those three wing defenders spacing the floor, and that's a legit team.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out like who it is that like I would like them to go get. Like it's not DeAndre Ayton, like don't do that. But like there's somebody there I think that they could go get that would be interesting because like those guys exist. Like you can go find them or you can draft them obviously too.
Yeah.
This year doesn't necessarily have one of those guys unless you like really love Maluak, and Maluak might be really fun there.
Yeah. And that could be his game. Like who's the other bigs? I mean, like Flory's not doing enough at Kansas right now. Like even like that's
Rocco's not doing enough here.
Flory's the archetype.
Yeah. This is not a great center class right now. It seems like from an NBA perspective,
they should have got Missi in that trade.
Yeah, that would have been fun. That would have been really fun if they'd have done that. But yeah, I mean, like I think Onyeka is probably a little too small. You know, Kenny, asks this question. Like,
I don't think
Onyeka's the guy.
I feel bad because like I'm not a Kongwu guy, like, and not as the starting five anyway. Like I see the value off the bench for him.
Yeah,
I don't see the starting five for anytime I've anytime I've watched. I've just been like, I don't understand the crazy excitement that some people have on Onyeka as the starter. So yeah, I don't think it's OO. I think it's somebody else.
Yeah. I liked him a lot pre-draft as like a switchable big who could really catch lobs and stuff, but yeah, it hasn't really worked out because he got hurt immediately too. He's gotten hurt a couple of times now. It just hasn't quite been able to be effective as a rim protector in the way that I want him to. But yeah, no, like this is where this is going to me. Jack shout out for the super chat, asks Robert Williams for Nance in a first. I would just rather have Larry Nance than Rob Williams, so don't add the first.
Yeah, did you watch his game the other night though? He was
Williams
amazing.
Rob is so good. It's just the health. Like I can't trust that guy to stay healthy. I agree with you that Rob Williams is like the perfect big for this team. It's just like there's no world where I can trust that guy to stay healthy.
So I wouldn't trade a first. Oh no, it was I wouldn't trade a first for Rob because of that, but I would take a flyer. Like whatever it took, I would I shouldn't say whatever it would take because I wouldn't trade a first. He was so good, Sam. Like I had and maybe it's because I had forgotten.
He is so good when he's healthy.
Oh man, he was catching everything. He was blocking everything. Man, he was good. That's a really good name from the chat there.
Jack,
great call.
I think it makes sense. It's just But Risacher, back to him. Yeah, I mean, looks like everything I think that they would have wanted at this point, except for the shot not falling. Yeah. And you and I think the shot will fall at some point. Like he might be a 35 guy. Like it might not be he's going to be a great shooter, but he'll shoot enough. And I agree with you totally. I love the fit of him and Jalen Johnson and Dyson Daniels together. The perfect players to have next to Trae Young if you're going to build around Trae.
Yeah. Now, and listen, I think, we talk about team building and all of that a lot. And so to watch a team try to do it, even if it doesn't work, right? Like even if it ends up not working, I love that Atlanta seems to have this vision and are trying to go about it. They find that lob threat center that can protect the rim. And like you said, these guys even if all three of them, none of them need to be 40% guys. If they can all get to mid 30s, with their versatility and what they offer defensively, that all becomes like, I'd be excited to watch that team. I would think that team has a chance in the Eastern Conference, outside the top tier, and who knows what that top tier looks like a couple years from now when this could be realized. So yeah, I like the potential there.
It's a good point. Okay. Before we move to the next team, shout out to the good folks over at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. We love PrizePicks here at Game Theory because of how easy they make it to get real money sports action on the games. If you think that Terry McLaurin is going to go nuts tonight against Philly, I hope so, for my fantasy team at least, then you can just pick his over in yardage. You can make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks. Download the app today and use the code GameTheory to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use that code GameTheory, and you're going to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Our second sponsor, Robinhood Gold. Shout out to the good folks over at Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn a very liberal 4.5% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of the high net worth for any net worth for just $5 per month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply for product specific disclosures. Visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. All right, Bryce, let's go to the Washington Wizards next. Let's start with Alex Sarr, because Alex Sarr to this point has been strange in many ways. He's averaging 9.5 points, 5.8 rebounds, 2.2 assists. He's also blocking 2.3 shots per game and getting 0.6 steals. He is shooting 34% from the field right now. Hasn't been great offensively. In fact, I would say it's been quite poor offensively for Alex Sarr. Yet there are still flashes, like he will grab and go in transition.
I was just reading this. I love it. Go ahead. Sorry.
And like draw defenders toward him and like make an awesome pass, like to a cutter or to a 3-point kick out. Like there are real things that he does where you see it and you go, oh, like that works. That really works. Like this might like be awesome. This might be really, really good. And then there's some other stuff like finishing around the rim, which is like a necessity of a big where he struggles. The way I would phrase it is the flashes are really good. The non-negotiables for being a big have not been very good so far.
We talked about this too. I mean, we talked about it pre-draft in terms of, I looked at him as this archetype of stretch big that can protect the rim. And I think based off what we've seen, he's going to be what I thought he was going to be defensively. But we talked about the fact that he had to be able to stretch the floor and he had to have this skill level offensively because he wasn't great at doing the big guy things. We talked about, I went back through my notes of every game I watched of him, and multiple times I talked about his guards not throwing him lobs. And it was like, why is this? Why are they not throwing him lobs at times? Does he not catch it all the time? Is he not catching them in practice? Like he just wasn't always great with his hands and finishing and the touch. And so it's like, you got to be able to stretch the floor then. And, not only is he 34% from the field, he's 17% from three. I love the volume. I think his volume is right at 5 3-point attempts a game, but to be able to really provide value and have gravity as that stretch big, you got to shoot better than that. And so that was always the scary thing on the offensive end. But the flashes are real. You know, like when I have the grab and go mentioned as well, where he breaks down a rebound. The defensive rebounding's actually been a little better than I thought. That was a real worry coming in also. I watched a Hawks game, and I assume maybe it's been a mixed bag, but I watched a Hawks game and it was really good in that game against the Hawks. So maybe I just caught him on a good night, but the flashes, it's been the flashes, right? And it's just enough when you watch to make you hold on to the fact that this guy could still be something.
Yeah, I agree. The flashes are enough for me right now, in all honesty. Like, this does not look like James Wiseman. You know what I mean? Like, Wiseman, like, really seemed to struggle to move, really seemed to struggle to process it. Sarr looks like he knows where he needs to be. He's just not physically capable enough yet of doing some of this stuff. Like, Victor Wembanyama, like, kind of bullied him a little bit last night. Like, he was able to, like, move him and back him down and, like, get position. And Wemby is so, you know, Wemby, God love him. Like, he had 50 last night. He's, you know, one of the best players in the NBA already. But, like, he has such a high center of gravity that, like, he typically does not move people. Like, if you go watch their game against the Kings the game before, like, Sabonis, like, kind of stood him up and had, like, no problems doing it. So it's a statement on where Sarr is physically right now, that it's just going to take a lot of time for him, I think, to grow into his frame, continue to get stronger. And this year, I'm not that worried about what Alex Sarr does. I would like to see the field goal percentage get up above 40. I will say that.
Yes.
Like, that might be the non-negotiable. Like, get the field goal percentage up above 40. And look, like, his guards, we're going to talk about Bub Carrington here in a minute. It's not like he has, like, veteran guards feeding him. It's not like, you know, Jordan Poole's out here slicing and dicing and, like, getting him the ball. Jordan Poole's slicing and dicing and getting himself shots, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not as concerned about Sarr as what the numbers say, if only because the ground coverage defensively, the help defense, all that stuff has generally been there to this point.
Yeah. And, like, I guess I was just kind of looking at the defensive rebounding numbers only, you know, in a few more minutes than you know, like Edey, he actually averages more defensive rebounds. Now Edey crushes on the offensive boards. Same thing with Missi. So I guess where that was a huge concern for people was the rebounding. Offensively, he's not as dominant as Edey, as Missi, as Clingan, but he's held his own a little bit better, or as good as those guys on the defensive end. But yeah, I mean, it comes down to, he's flashed the shot blocking, he's flashed the defense, some of that stuff, the grab and go. He's got to put the ball in the basket. You know, we just said it with Risacher. Same thing with Sarr. If he doesn't put the ball in the basket at a better clip than what we've seen right now, then he's going to be unplayable on offense, and it doesn't matter what his defense is. So he has to really figure that stuff out.
Okay, let's go to Bub Carrington next. I've loved Bub.
Well, you
look, Bub is my guy. Like, yeah. I mean, it was really funny. So, like, even little stuff. So last night they play the Spurs, right? And Wemby tries to throw this ball up off the glass to himself to try and, like, throw down a dunk, and Bub just shoves him. He's just like, no. He, like, goes like this. No, I'm not letting this happen. And he had, like, a couple other of those, like, moments last night. I think he's been what they could have hoped for offensively at this point. Bub so far is averaging 9.9 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 5.1 assists, shooting 43, 36, 89 from the field. The true shooting percentage is at 55.7. So he's been fairly efficient. Like, if you're a lead guard being asked to play point guard, basically, and I know that, like, they have Poole sometimes at point, but, you know, he's basically the lead guard here. And you're, like, kind of being somewhat efficient, and you're making good passing reads. You're averaging 5 assists a game, and you have a 2.5 to 1 assist to turnover ratio. I can't really complain about much. So, like, what I will say is that he is just not super strong right now. And if you pressure him, like, on the ball, you can force it out of his hands a little bit too easily, it feels like. he is just not like able to have the kind of usage rate that you want from a lead guard right now.
I mean, he ended up going lower than what both of us. I mean, I had him at 11. He goes 14. I assume you had him higher than I had him. So
I'll look it up while we're talking.
Yeah. He also is averaging over a steal per game. I think at the end, like Bub is going to compete on the defensive end, and you kind of just outline that with Victor in that play. I think the one thing that would be exciting to me, because we know he's a pull-up jump shooter, especially in the mid-range. Right now, Sam, 21% of his shots coming between 16 feet and the three-point line, and he's making 53% of them. That's where his success is right now. Bub, I don't want to say never because I don't know, but I don't think that getting all the way to the rim is going to be the strongest part of his game. Only 19% of his shots are 0 to 3 feet. He's only getting to the free throw line under 2 times a game, averaging the most minutes of any rookie at 30, which is something that immediately stands out to me, even though it is the Wizards. So he has to be good in the mid-range. I think, offensively he has to be good in the mid-range. He's been able to use his handle and change the direction to get to those spots. And so far this year, he's knocking it. That's an efficient clip, 53% from that range. That'll play. Like you can live with that. And so I love seeing that number from Bub, along with the assist to turnover ratio, the steals, the competitiveness, all of that to go along with it.
Yeah. So that's literally what I wrote today. He's still only creating 1.5 shots at the rim per game in half court settings. And that was his big worry at Pitt as well, is like he averaged like 2 shots per game at the rim in half court settings. Look, he might just be so good as a mid-range shooter that it's able to work. Sure. But you have to be able to get to the spots first. And right now, I think he is, because he is so skinny, struggling to consistently get to the spots that he wants. He keeps his dribble alive and doesn't really get himself into trouble, but he's not able to like aggressively attack defenses yet downhill.
Yeah.
In the way that you want to see. I think that'll come as he gets stronger. Like he knows how to keep defenders on his back. As he gets like more physical, I think he's going to be pretty good.
Yeah. No, we talked a lot about him, and like, as I mentioned, I had him a little bit higher than he went. You had him even more higher than where he went. He's a good player. And I was excited about him, going to the Wizards because there was a real need for him there. He was going to get these reps. And I kind of love what Washington is doing, just saying, we're going to play all 3 of these guys. We're going to get them a ton of minutes. I believe if you just look, they're 3 of the top 5 players in terms of minutes per game in the league. That's perfect. Love it. That's what they should be doing, and letting these kids learn and grow and figure things out.
Yeah. And then the last guy here is Kyshawn George, right? Up and down, I would say, for Kyshawn when I've watched them. On the plus side, I think the defense has actually been a little bit better than what I expected. He knows where he needs to be on defense is kind of the key for me. He's been like much more of a playmaker on defense, I think, than what I expected. Because I did not love Kyshawn at Miami. Yeah. They played him at point late in the year, and I didn't really get that. But he's obviously super long at 6'7" with a 7-foot wingspan, averaging a block and a steal per game in 29 minutes per game. The key is the shooting. I think he can shoot. So the fact that he is at 29%, like the fact that he's willing to take 6.5 of these things per game from 3, that's the key to me. Like I don't really have a problem with him so far. Like I think he's been fine. It's just the results have been up and down because he's just skinny and, probably not quite ready for this level of action yet, but he can shoot it. So
yeah, I mean, I think that's, as I just like look at different shooting splits and metrics and stuff, he's actually finished decent at the rim. He's at 75% of the rim, 0 to 3 feet. But as you mentioned,
but he's not taking many of those.
No, not a lot. I'm just saying, like, when he has gotten there, he's been able to finish. It's really, almost 70% of his shot attempts are threes, and he's at 29%. So, like, when we talk about the shot mattering, it really matters for him, right? Like, Risacher can find a way to impact the game outside of making shots because he's just got a little more versatility to his game defensively, even offensively. Kyshawn's got to knock down shots. I think his jumper looks pure. Like, I think it looks good. So I'm interested to track that throughout the season. I think it will go up. I liked his size. You mentioned like the playmaking defensively. I think he has a little bit offensively that he could use. He is averaging almost 3 assists a game and less than a turnover. Like, that's really impressive between Bub and Kyshawn, both as much as they've played. And together they're like 8 assists, 3 turnovers. Like that's really good for, rookies playing as much as those two guys are. So it'll be interesting to see how impactful he can be defensively. Can the playmaking stay up? And then does the 3-point percentage ever come around to the rate, to the clip that it really needs to be for him?
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing worth noting with Kyshawn as well is he is like, I want to say 8 months older or something than Bilal Coulibaly as well, despite the fact that they were like one and done. Like Kyshawn turns 21 here.
Yeah, he was an older freshman.
Yeah, like he turns 21 in December, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So I don't know what to make of that yet. The fact that like he is a little bit older, but he's such a late growth spurt guy too, where maybe it just ends up kind of working out at the end of the day, where like he's just like a little bit later in his physical development. But, he is older than the other two rookies. Like both the other rookies are, I think Alex is still a teenager, right?
Yeah.
He's a April 2005. Like he turns 21 in December, whereas both these guys are basically going to play their whole seasons as teenagers.
Yep.
So, but the other thing I'll say with Kyshawn too is he moves the ball super well. Like continues to pass it really, really well. The key is just the shot though. Like he can't really do anything off the dribble. And he's not shooting well right now. So when I've watched them, I've been like, okay, like he's firing from 3, but it's not really impactful yet. I like that he's passing well. It's kind of, but defensively, like he's also been like somewhat valuable as well. So it's interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. Really, really interesting. I don't know what to do with him yet.
It will. Yeah. I mean, they're going to get the minutes. There's going to be plenty to evaluate, which is exciting.
Yep. Okay. Next up, Reed Sheppard. And like, we don't have to spend a ton of time on Reed because, hasn't played a lot, right? But when you've seen Reed, what has been your opinion of him?
Defensively, I have just like hold up at the point of attack concerns, no different than the pre-draft process, but his hands are awesome. And, hopefully we'll make up for that. I continue to be impressed with his ability to get inside the 3-point line. And this is going back to summer league a little bit. The mid-range jumper, I don't know what the numbers actually are on that. But I find myself getting, being impressed that he is able to get there, rise up, get that shot off. It's just the minutes. He's 12 minutes a night. And we were kind of nervous about this. He does it, he's 33% on 3, but he's not even getting 2 a game. So like the volume's not even there. I just don't know that we've seen enough to really have crazy takeaways like some of the other guys we've talked about here at the top.
Yeah. I mean, when he's played, I feel like he's looked super comfortable on offense. He's making the right passing reads. He hasn't shot it like crazy well yet. We know that's going to change. That'll shift at some point. But he looks comfortable, doesn't turn it over, 2-to-1 assist turnover ratio. They often have him out there with those bench units with Tari and Amen. So like they're running rabbit like everywhere and going crazy. Like, yeah, I mean, he's going to be fine. I have zero concerns about Reed. The one thing I will say though, defenses are attacking him.
Yep.
Or offenses are attacking him on defense. I'm sorry. He's getting mismatch hunted like pretty regularly. He needs to figure out a way to consistently hold up in switches on defense.
Yeah, no, that will be a big part. I looked up the mid-range numbers. So I don't know, 44%, most of them have come from 10 to 16 feet and he's at 44% on those. So he's been a little bit more off the bounce, obviously not all the way to the rim. But it'll be interesting because the thing is, they got plenty of options in Houston. And so if they feel like, hey, we're really in this thing and he's really not ready right now because of the defense, because teams are going to hunt him, we can't figure that out. He can't figure it out. He's not shooting 45% from 3. He stays at 35%. There's a world where it ends up like, hey, down the stretch, we don't see a whole lot of him. And that's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean he's, anything. It just means he's on a team that could be competing for something and they have a bunch of other really, really good players. And, he may have to wait his time a little bit.
Yeah, and yet there's also a chance too that they make some trade and like he ends up playing 20 minutes a
100%.
night, right?
100%.
Like,
Yeah. Like there's the other side of the coin of that. 100%. Like no question.
yeah. So we'll see. I actually would really like. It's hard because I guess they have Aaron Holiday. Like they could just have Aaron like run the point. I would really like to see Reed play G League at some point and just get reps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like get a chance to like run the show again, showcase that like, hey, he's like a real dude. It's going to be hard here. Like Jalen Green gets a lot of reps. Fred gets a lot of reps. Alperin like ends up on the ball, decent amount, like on the block. Amen is, crashing and flying around in transition. Tari's flying around in it's just like a lot of dudes and a lot of bodies right now for him to get a chance.
Yep.
Okay. Number 4 pick this past year was, why is my brain blanking? Steph Castle. Yeah. I always I know that the Spurs didn't end up making that second pick, but like I always conflate like the second pick somehow. So Steph Castle goes number 4. Steph has been really interesting to me. I have liked largely what I've seen from Steph, while also noting that I feel like he has not been all that effective either. Like he looks polished and poised and comfortable out there, and he's been really, really good on defense already again. But he just can't shoot yet.
Yeah.
And it's hard for him to actually be able to do anything on offense without that.
Yes. Strong physical guard. We've seen that. I liked the most recent game I watched. He was playing fully on the ball, which I loved, which was really cool. Also just like what makes great about Chris Paul, right? Like Chris Paul comes in there and it's like, okay, I'll go play off ball and let this rookie play on the ball. Like he understands the assignment. Jumper's been as bad as what I was worried that it would be. I was pretty worried about the jumper coming out of UConn. He's at 23% from 3 right now. Hasn't done a whole lot in the mid range. I worry about that. How much does he need the jumper? I do think the passing has been good. When he has played off the ball, I think he's a very good processor. So, even just in one of those games, perfectly, like really nice cuts off the ball from the slot, all of that. But then the defense stood out as well. I watched, I think, a game against the Blazers. He took the Anfernee Simons matchup, and we both thought he was one of, if not the best pure perimeter defender in the class, at least at the top of the class. And, especially with his size, he offers some versatility with that. If we talked about it the entire draft process, and we're talking about it again here, 10, 12 games into their rookie seasons, it was a lot of if he shoots whenever we would talk about these guys. And with Steph, that's still holding true.
And I think he will get to a solid point. If you look at his last 4 games, and look, we're talking very, very small sample. He started these last 4 games, right? 14.3 points, 2.5 rebounds, 5 assists versus only 1.5 turnovers, 48% from the field, 33% from 3, 82% from the line. Like, has been really, really valuable when he's out there with the starting group. But I feel like early on, the reason he's not higher in the rookie rankings is he was like not very good early in the season. Like I actually thought he like really, really struggled early in the season. But now like he's playing with the starters. He's playing with smarter players, I think. He kind of entered the starting lineup. Like it felt like when Sohan went out more than anything. And it's been really useful. It's been really, really valuable.
So I was going to look because one of the numbers that kind of catches my eye is his rebounding, which the Spurs as a team are pretty good. They're very good defensive rebounding team. I just, when I look at Steph Castle, I see a guy that like kind of fills up the box score, defends, passes. And right now he's at 2.5 rebounds, 23.5 minutes a game. I'm interested to track some of that stuff. Can the steals, the blocks, the rebounds, like just kind of do a little bit of quite honestly, a little bit of what he was at Connecticut, right? With a little bit more on ball in San Antonio than what he always got with UConn. But that's what I want to see from Steph is like, can you go grab 5 or 6 rebounds a game along with the steal and a block and the assists and running the show. Like, I guess that's what I kind of envision for him, is stuffing the stat sheet just a little bit more than what we've seen so far. And it's 12 games. Like, he's probably figuring some things out. Once he figures out one thing, then maybe he can, give a little more attention to the rebounding.
Yeah. And I think he's been, it's funny, like you say, like he's not stuffing the stat sheet, and I agree, but he's like generally helped them like with more ball handling out there, and it's been like super helpful in terms of like connective basketball.
Agreed.
Yet particularly these last like 4 games, I've really, really liked what I've seen from Stephon Castle. Like I've been like, this makes like total sense. And I've watched like 2 of these games like fully and like dug deep into Wemby now, like on this channel. And like my eye kept going to Steph, and I was like, oh, like this is coming around. Like having the extra ball handler out there versus Sohan is actually, I think, really helping them. Whereas like with Wemby, they haven't really had that opportunity even throughout his career to this point. Having 2 guys out there who can handle it has been really useful, I think. Like he's already, like to me, like he's drastically past like Malachi Branham, Blake Wesley, guys that have been in the system for like multiple years. Like he is, even at 19 years old, just turned 20 and, earlier this month, like he's way, way better than those guys already, which is a credit to him. So I am very optimistic on Steph. And like, if you made me pick somebody that I think is going to be an all-star from this class, he would definitely be in the top 3 for me, like for sure. The overall, there have been it's been like hit or miss though, when I've watched him, but it's been a lot more hit over the last week than it has been miss, I guess is how I would phrase it.
Yeah. And again, I believe in Stephon Castle's processing, and we saw it at UConn, where I think he can play off the ball enough. Like the shooting, provides some issues, but I think he can cut. I think you could use him creatively in a short roll, screen and short roll. Like I would love to see Victor with the ball. Steph comes and sets a ball screen and just see what the defense does and let him play out of that. I think Steph has the versatility to do those things, along with playing, all on the ball whenever those times present themselves as well. So I'm very intrigued by who he is. I don't know that I'm quite as high on his overall ceiling, but I do think he has the makeup to be a very, very impactful player in a multiple facet type of way.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Now let's get to number 5 here. The number 5 overall pick was Ron Holland. I will give you the floor before I give my thoughts, because you've watched all these games. Like this is much more your show than mine.
Ron. I mean, I've watched every second of Ron Holland's rookie year. Listen, Ron plays really, really hard. He's had some really good defensive possessions at times. He's had some rookie moments at times. He missed an X out actually in the game last night, where it's like you could see Cade frustrated, kind of look at him with his palms up like, Ron, you were supposed to X out there and you didn't. Offensively has been an adventure outside of transition. He is very good in transition. I mean, I don't know what Synergy says. He was awesome last night. Milwaukee has no athleticism outside of Giannis. But they're really bad in transition too. Yeah. But in general, that's where kind of his buckets have come from. That's where he seemed the most confident. The jumper's just not good. And here's the thing, to his credit, he has stayed confident. Houston put their center on him and said, shoot it. And he shot it 4 times in a row. And he made 1 of 4, which is actually a better percentage than what he's shooting for the season. He's not ready offensively. Straight up, Sam. I think when Sarr gets back and healthy, Sarr will
be out of the rotation.
And I think Sarr will take those minutes, and then we'll go from there. Here's what I want to make clear, though. I don't want to hear the BS about the free throws last night. Like, he's a rookie on the road against the Bucks in a huge moment. That's not an indictment of anything to me. Because here's the thing. You know what other mistake happened the night before? The best coach in the NBA called a timeout when he didn't have one. So professionals make mistakes in big time clutch moments. And so I don't think that should be an indictment of Ron Holland's first 13 games, but the offense hasn't been good in spite of that.
No, my big issue is that I don't know what he does on offense at this point, other than running transition. Yeah. Like I didn't put him in the top 15 of my rookie rankings. And I had a couple Detroit fans be like, Ron's been like good so far. And I'm just like, no, disagree. Like he is a total record scratch out there every time because teams just leave him open from 3.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't really have the ball skill yet to be able to take advantage of that. He's a good cutter. I agree with that, but like, he's just not really there offensively. Defensively, I think he's been better than what I expected, if only because watching the G League tape last year, and this was the G League, that entire situation was a catastrophe. But like, watching that tape last year, I felt like his awareness was quite poor. And it's not that.
No.
Like, yes, you're right. He misses X outs. Yes, you're right. Like, there are times where he is not like, making the right decisions, but he's fully engaged.
Oh yeah.
Which is the key. Like, he is giving a ton of effort. He's running back. He's fighting back. Like, he's done all that. So defensively, I like this. Offensively, like, it looks very Corey Brewer-y to me right now as like an overall player, which is kind of what I wondered about going into the draft, which is why I had Ron at like, 12 or whatever I had him at pre-draft.
Yeah, I had him a little higher, and I was just like banking on. I thought he had a real two-way wing potential, and I think we've seen enough on the defensive end to think that that's possible.
Yeah.
The offense is a real work in progress. He has to make shots. The handle has to get tighter. He has to figure out how to finish in ways that aren't just explode. Because here's the thing. He's not a Sarr athletically, like that. People will compare him to a Sarr Thompson. I'm like, a Sarr is a different level of athlete than Ron Holland, even though Ron is a good athlete. So it's a work in progress. I don't know how much we would have seen him if a Sarr wouldn't have had the blood clot issue. I don't know how many minutes we would have seen from him so far this year. And I assume when a Sarr's back, he finally got cleared in another week or so. I assume I don't think we'll see a ton of Ron Holland minutes.
I think I agree with that. I would not expect to see much Ron Holland either. Before we get to number 6 here, we're going to shout out the good folks over at DUER. My DUER jeans are truly my favorite piece of clothing that I own right now. They sent me out a pair of jeans, and they are fantastic. I've been wearing these things everywhere that I can whenever I go out of the house. They are so comfortable. They look great. They feel great. They're stylish. They're versatile. You can wear them in a lot of different situations. They are fantastic, fantastic jeans. DUER is built for doing, with styles of stretch performance denim and lifestyle apparel for everyone in every season. DUER has you covered for the colder winter months with fabrics like a fireside denim, which is interwoven with fleece for warmth without too much bulk. Plus, DUER's clothes are sustainably crafted to last. They're going to be a staple in my closet for years. I am going to try and get them to send me more clothes out, in all honesty, because they have been so good. I love my DUERs, and I'm sure you will too. Check out DUER's flagship stores in LA or Denver, or shop online at shopduer.com/game theory. That's shopduer.com/game theory. Right now, my listeners are going to get 20% off your first purchase when you use that exclusive URL. Don't wait. Get 20% off at shopduer.com/game theory. Our final sponsor of the day is MANDO. Shout out to the good friends over at MANDO. They're a longtime sponsor, and it's that magic time of year. Football season is in full swing, and the NBA season is tipping off. So whether you're tailgating for Sunday's big game or cheering courtside for the beginning of the NBA season, you're going to need a game day essential, MANDO whole body deodorant. MANDO is a key part of traveling to games because, let's face it, if you're stressing over that last second shot or a nail-biting third down, you're going to sweat. MANDO has got me covered with its powerful 72-hour odor control. It's safe to use all over. That means from your pits down to your feet and every spot in between. It comes in 3 formats: the invisible spray, solid stick, and cream. So there's something there for everyone. And here's the play. New customers are going to get $5 off the starter pack with code Game Theory at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com. It's perfect for gearing up for the season or for getting a last-minute stocking stuffer. So don't let body odor keep you on the sidelines. Smell better with Mando. Use Game Theory at shopmando.com for $5 off and tell them that we sent you. Okay. Bryce, we're down to Tidjane Salaün now. We can zoom through Salaün pretty quickly. He has played 155 minutes to this point. He just doesn't really look ready to go yet, which is a complete non-surprise to anybody who saw him play in France. This is a pure upside swing. This is like a long-term bet. What he did this year in no way, shape, or form matters for his rookie or for his future career. This was absolutely a player we knew was a project, and he looks like a project.
Agreed. He plays really hard. He had like one game against
super hard
rebounds, had one game against the Celtics where he made some shots, and it was cool to see for him. You could see the excitement. He wasn't NBA ready. He's not NBA ready, and that's okay.
Yep. I don't know. We need to spend like a crazy amount more time on him.
Yeah,
right.
We're good.
Okay. Donovan Clingan. I did a full breakdown on Donovan Clingan earlier.
I watched the wrong game against the Timberwolves. I watched the first one, and then he went crazy in the second one.
Bryce, you made errors here.
Errors.
Donovan Clingan had 17, 12, and 8 blocks last night. And it was a block party in the fourth quarter. I think he had like 6 of those blocks in the fourth. It was ridiculous. When they were trying to shut the game down, he shut the game down. Him and Shaedon Sharpe. It was awesome. It was so, so good. He looks great when he plays. I just don't know how many minutes he's going to continue to get until they make a move here, because DeAndre Ayton at some point is going to be back. Rob Williams is back already and is like playing every other game. It feels like, you know, when they don't have or playing every game when they don't have a back-to-back. He is like Donovan is, I think he might be better than these dudes already. Just straight up. Maybe not better than Rob Williams. Rob Williams is really good, but Rob can't play more than, 25 minutes in a night in all likelihood. But I think Clingan might be better than Ayton already.
Yeah.
I would like to see him just play.
I'm with you. I want them to just play Scoot, play Shaedon, play Denny, play Tumani, and Donovan Clingan. I text somebody the other day. I said, those are the 5 Blazers I want to see on the court. Those are the 5 Blazers. Maybe I'm missing somebody, but those are the 5 I really care about for this team right now. Toumani Camara is one of those guys that I'm really quietly intrigued by and really interested to watch his progression. I feel like Shaedon Sharpe, I know we're trying to talk about Clingan, but has been really interesting in his few games back. But yeah, Clingan, he can move. I watched the game against the Spurs, can screen, rescreen, flip his hips, offensive rebound, just a nightmare. I know per 36 it's a little unfair because can they actually do it for 36 minutes when they're only playing 15? But he would be almost 6 offensive rebounds, almost 5 blocks per 36.
Oh, he's been a monster on the glass.
Monster.
He's been so good at tip outs on the offensive glass so far.
Yeah, I think that would trend. He would be like 12 and 12. I think if he played real minutes, every night, and 4 or 5 of those would be offensive boards. I don't think he would average 5 blocks a night if he was playing 36 minutes, but he can change, the equation. I think he changes the equation for a lot of offensive players just with his presence there. So I like Clingan coming out. I ended up with him in my top 5. He obviously went lower than that at 7, but in what I've seen in these small sample size minutes, I haven't seen anything that's given me pause to think otherwise.
I totally agree with you. He looks awesome. Looks awesome every single time that I see him play. I feel like he fouls. That's the other issue.
What's that? Okay. So in fairness, real quick, 6.3 fouls per 36 minutes. So I should have led with that he couldn't even stay on the floor for 36 because of the fouls. But
yeah, the first possession last night, he gets into drop against an Anthony Edwards drive, does a pretty good job cutting off the drive, but probably gets himself a little too far out. And Rudy's able to go and like get the offensive rebound against them, because I think Shaedon might have been not helping the helper, if I remember correctly, and like boxing out. And he just goes back and just like fouls the shit out of Rudy, like as he's going for it. And I'm just like, oh no, this is a real issue. And then you look up and, you know, Donovan was fantastic throughout the game. The thing I want to call out with Donovan more than anything is the screening.
Yeah.
After watching DeAndre Ayton with Scoot for a year and a half now versus watching like Clingan now for 8 games. I think I've probably watched 4 of those games realistically. The difference in screening and the ability to catch and rescreen, the ability to catch and like get into a quick DHO, maintain advantages. It's so much easier. It's so much better. Like their ability to flow into offense with Clingan out there and to get advantages with him screening is so much better than when Ayton is out there. Like I know Ayton closed the season great last year, but oh my God, it just drives me crazy watching him screen versus Clingan. Like you see it now versus Clingan.
Yeah.
Like Clingan just makes life so much easier for guys like Shaedon and Scoot and everything.
Yep. Yeah. He's going to be good.
Yeah. Like, look, his overall numbers so far, 5.7 points, 5.5 rebounds. Like they look pedestrian, but if you look at like the win share numbers, like he's number 2, I think, behind Edey. It's like him, Ajay Mitchell, and Edey. Like any of the advanced numbers, like absolutely love Clingan to this point. So, okay. Next is Rob Dillingham. Rob Dillingham has played 28 minutes. I don't think we need to focus on Dillingham.
Yeah.
At all.
Agreed.
Blank.
Yep.
Okay. Next, we'll go to Memphis. Zach Edey and Jaylen Wells. Let's start with Edey. More than anything, so Edey's been useful on offense in the ways we expected. They can post him. He has a really good touch on his hook shot. He's been useful as an offensive rebounder. Like there's all that stuff that we expected has been good.
Already has chemistry with Ja as a lob threat.
Already has chemistry with Ja as a lob threat. I almost want to focus more on his screening, or not his screening, his defense.
Yeah.
His defense so far, when they don't play like a big who can pop, he is an awesome defender already. When he has to like guard in space and close out and everything, that's where things get a little bit funky. But when it is a big that is like an Andre Drummond or a Nick Claxton or a Jonas Valanciunas, like, and he can stay in the paint and there are no issues, he is already like a significant deterrent on the interior.
Yeah, I watched them play the Nets, and he gets a block on Cam Thomas layup. And then sure enough, the next possession down, Cam Thomas drives into the lane, and Steve Nash dribbles along the baseline and kicks it out to the weak side instead of attempting another layup. So he is, I'm really interested to watch, because even in straight drop, I want to see his ability to, okay, do teams just hit mid-range jumpers, or can he backpedal and contest lobs against the best of the best lob throw? Like when they play Dallas, you know, and you have Luka and Kyrie coming off these, and then you have Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford rim running aggressively. Is he able to stay high enough to not just give up wide open mid-range or pull up threes? And then can he backpedal and elevate to contest the lob to Lively and Gafford? And I realize I'm being very specific now, but like that would be the next iteration. Okay, you belong on the NBA floor. You're not just going to get completely hunted. Now what level can you take it to in drop coverages? I think pick and pop bigs are always going to be an issue for him, or especially, a pick and pop big that could then attack a closeout like a Karl Anthony Towns or something like that. But yeah, I mean, he's been good. I was lower on Zach Edey, and he has definitely proven me wrong through his game so far, with just the impact he's able to provide.
So the thing that I will say, just like mechanically about that, is I forget who I was watching, and it was driving me like out of my mind. I think it was Towns. I was watching Karl Towns defend and drop, and like Towns's arms are always down in drop.
Yeah.
Like he just never is, out there like contesting, trying to use his length to like take up space and everything. Edey is always doing that. Like he's always got his arms extended as wide as possible or as high as possible. He's always cutting off angles, and he does a really, really good job of making sure that he's as big as possible in order to cut off all of those speedy angles, right? He is really, really good at that too. Like his mechanics, his fundamentals in that regard in drop are really, really good. I think it's worse when he has to play somebody that can like pick and pop and he's in space and he has to like kind of deal with stuff. He's had a couple of decent moments where he's gotten caught on an island and like has to slide his feet. I wouldn't say he's like great out there, but he's not getting cooked either. So by and large, I think Edey has been the best rookie this year to this point. I did rookie rankings at The Athletic today. I had him at number 1. I think he was like pretty clearly number 1 for me. McCain, we'll talk about him in a minute. McCain's defense is we'll talk about it. Edey to this point, I think has been useful on both ends. He had that monster game against Brooklyn where he had like 25 and 12 or whatever it was with a couple of blocks, 4 blocks maybe. I think he has been the guy where I've watched and I've been like, this makes sense. This is who I believe in at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, I think if there's an argument, like his team, he hasn't played that much more, I guess. I was going to say like maybe Jaylen Wells just because he's played more minutes, but it's only 6 minutes a game. So it's not as much as what I thought. So yeah, I think I would agree.
Let's talk about Jaylen Wells then.
Yeah.
Jaylen Wells has been good.
Very good. Yeah.
He knocks down shots. So Jaylen Wells to this point is averaging 11.2 points, 3.3 rebounds, 1.7 assists, shooting 43% from the field, 37% from 3. Obviously hits his like catch and shoot jumpers with ease. They run him off of some actions, but for the most part, it's like spot up threes that he's making. But he's a super high level shooter, and we knew that coming into the draft. The thing that they have him do is guard the opposing team's best player every night. It's been up and down. Like we can admit that. Like it's not always awesome when he does it, but he's been willing and capable of like dealing with it for the most part.
There's value in just the fact that he can take those matchups and not get cooked though, Sam, because now it's other guys that don't have to take those matchups. And so then they can have more energy for the offensive end. So I always give a little bit of credit to guys who can you at least take those matchups. Can you expend the energy on the defensive end? So maybe your primary offensive guy or guys don't have to do that. If Jaylen Wells can take up matchups that Desmond Bane doesn't have to take matchups, or that allows you to kind of, okay, we can put Smart on this guy and let him do his thing there. And because Jaylen can hold up good enough over here, that there's just real value to me in that, in a guy that you trust enough to take those matchups and give that energy. And again, he's playing 30 minutes a night, or 26 minutes a night, 37% from 3. And like we said, he's holding up enough on the defensive end. And, the Grizzlies seem to have done it again, with this selection and found themselves. I mean, it's awesome going up and down their roster and the guys that are playing right now and where they found them and how they got them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. It's fantastic. Any other thoughts here on the Memphis guys before we move on? I had these two as my top 2 rookies. Honestly,
okay, yeah.
if I hadn't locked the list before last night's games, I would have had McCain at 2, but I locked the list beforehand and McCain, went off or whatever. So what can you do? Yeah, McCain Wells has been solid. It feels like to me.
Yep.
Okay. Next up is number 10. Number 10 is Cody Williams. Cody Williams to this point, 3.8 points, 2.5 rebounds, 1.4 assists. He has played 22 minutes a game. He's also shooting 26% from the field, 17% from 3. Yeah, Cody is just like physically not ready to play in the NBA. I don't think. And the Jazz like just don't have anyone else, but like he has a lot of work to do just on his frame to be able to like deal with contact and physicality.
Yeah, I listen, I watch and my thoughts are I see the talent. Truly, I do. I was never a huge Cody Williams guy going back to even before the season started last year in college basketball. Probably ended up with him ranked higher than what I really felt comfortable with, even with
I kind of felt that way too.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I ended up with him 13th, didn't love the Jazz taking him at 10, and that was probably higher than what I really actually wanted to have him.
Yeah, like I had him at 6 and like I didn't love him.
Yeah.
Like I just didn't like a lot of other players.
Yeah.
No, the answer.
Listen, I was messing with my 2025 draft board today and I'm like, this guy's not the 19th best player in a draft class, but I don't know who else is right now. And that's because this year we're 3 games into college season. That's part of why, but I think he has to find some assertiveness, some aggressiveness. Maybe that comes with the body changing.
Putting him in the G League would be the right call to me.
I agree 1,000. Like this, sometimes I wonder with guys, does it help? Does it not? I think you got to send him down there and tell him, go be a dude. Like find ways to really impact the game.
So here's what I would be worried about with that though. Like we think his issue is like physicality and like just being so skinny right now.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if he would go into the G League and just like dominate.
Sure.
Right now.
Sure. But you got to take more than 5 shots. You got to be getting up more than 5 shots. You got to get more than 0.8 free throw attempts. You got to grab more than 2.5 rebounds. Still like go down there and just, yes, I think that's where he should be. I think that.
Yeah. And look, I get it. Like they just don't have bodies.
Yeah, sure.
Right
Sure.
now.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like the Jazz just don't have a lot of players and it's a whole thing right now. Like that team just has no depth whatsoever. They're sitting here at 2-8. Like they are, I mean, truly, I think they're the worst team in the league. They're the worst team I've watched so far.
I was going to ask about whenever we were talking about topics, I was like, do we do the best of the bad teams or something like that? And I was like, what if we did rank I was like, I think Utah would be the team that I would pick to be at the bottom.
Maybe we'll do that on Sunday. Talk about, because we did power rankings. Maybe we do tank rankings on Sunday and just talk through those teams. I mean, Cody, I mean, there's a case that he's been like the least effective player in the league so far this year, just given the minute load as well. Like he's playing real minutes. And look, it feels like we're just kind of dumping on him. The issue is not Cody's issue. It's that he's not ready for this yet. Yep. More than anything. Like, and we knew that coming into the draft. I think he's going to be a good player down the road as long as he doesn't lose the confidence here. Knowing his brother, like I can't imagine that like Cody's going to lose confidence in that way. People are different people, obviously, everything like that. But like Cody it's going to take time. And I hope that he doesn't lose that confidence level.
Yeah, no. And as I said, I think maybe going to the G League and putting up numbers and really contributing and producing could be good for that.
Now let's talk about the guy that I do want to talk about is Kyle Filipowski. Flip looks good. Like Flip looks ready to go here on the offensive end. He's averaging 7 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, shooting 55-38. And I mean, he's taken like 5 free throws or whatever. So he's at 37.5 from free throw. But like, like when I've watched Flip, I've been like, this dude can go.
Yeah.
Like look, he might not be more than like a third big, but he's like ready to go from the jump. Defensively, I mean, the Jazz are a catastrophe on defense. Like there is no other way to put it. Like, I think they might even be better than last year, but like Walker Kessler is like the only thing that gives them a chance on defense. I feel like right now, his rim protection. Filipowski, I don't think is a great defender, but offensively, he looks ready to go right now.
Yeah, no, I've watched a game against the Kings. They went some zone. He passes the ball well. I think we both liked his ability to pass, like not create, but just pass the ball. I thought his physicality stood out. As we talked about Cody Williams not having that. And then he missed his first 2 3-point attempts in that game. I think one was an air ball even. He ended up starting the second half. I think this was a game that Lowry didn't play the second half. And then he comes in, knocks down a corner, catch and shoot 3 to start the second half. And you mentioned the numbers there, 38% from 3, lower volume, just 2. But yeah, I believe in Filipowski's skill set. I thought he could shoot it. I thought he could pass it a little bit. And I think he's going to be fine there. I think ultimately his ceiling comes down to, like you mentioned, are you a third big because defensively you're not really that good, or can he figure out some ways to be successful on that end as well?
Yeah. No, I mean, look, I had Filipowski in the top 20 and I feel great about it.
Yep.
Based off
Same.
this.
Same.
Okay. I mean, Isaiah Collier, like I haven't seen him play yet.
I have not. I saw he got in the other night. It was not a game I've had a chance to watch yet.
Yeah. So I'm not going to on Collier's because I haven't actually watched him at this point yet. Okay. Next is number 11. That is going to be Modest. Modest is just not playing a lot. And when I've seen him play, like he's played like 95, 100 minutes or something like that. Yeah, I mean, I haven't thought he looks remotely ready at this point.
I watched them play, I believe, the Cavs. He missed a 3, traveled, got hung up on a screen, gave up a 3, and then I don't think he came back in the game. And it was just rough. So
yeah, and I've seen Bulls fans like complaining that he's not playing, and I'm like, guys, like I haven't seen anything on the court that says he should be playing.
Yeah,
at this point, I hope that he does well at some point, but yeah, he just hasn't been out there at this point in a way that looks positive in any way, shape, or form. Shooting 25% from the field, 20% from 3. I agree with you. I have not thought the defense looked good at all. And yeah, I mean, he looks like he should be in the G League. And I would imagine that that's where it goes at some point soon.
Yep.
Okay. Number 12 and number 13 have not played yet this year. We have talked about Bub Carrington at 14. Kel'el Ware is number 15. He has played 43 minutes. I honestly don't know if I've seen any of those 43 minutes.
So he played against the Pistons the other night. Stepped out, of course, in that game, knocked down a catch and shoot 3. It was only the second make of his career. The one thing I'll say is you could see like the lob catch radius that he could potentially have. They ran some ball screens and threw it up to him. I think he converted one of them. So you could see that. I just happened to catch a game where he got a few minutes. It wasn't overly impactful, but you could see, like you say, he flashed in that game, the 3-pointer and then the ability around the rim to potentially offer that lob threat. And that was kind of it.
Okay. Jared McCain.
We said it. We told him, play him, let him cook.
Play him, let him go. Jared McCain has been fucking awesome. He has been so good, and I am so happy for Jared McCain because I said this on the video that I just did. Like, everyone got this idea that Jared McCain is like some like TikTok dude who like doesn't, might not care about basketball or cares more about like social media than basketball. No, absolutely not. Like if you talk to people at Duke, like they were like, no, he was like the best dude that we had like in the weight room and like one of the best dudes we've had in the weight room in a long time. He gets a ton of extra shots up all the time. Like he works his balls off. And then you look in terms of like his intelligence, like he is a really, really sharp kid who is constantly trying to improve like his mental capacity for the game and like his ability to overcome adversity and things like that. He is a serious worker at basketball, and we're seeing the dividends of that now. He is leading all rookies in scoring at 13.5 points per game, 45% from the field, 38% from 3 so far. If you look at just his last 4 games, he is averaging, I think it's like 24 per game or something like that. Like a crazy. No, I'm sorry. I undersold it. He's averaging 25.5 per game in his last 4, shooting 46, 43, 100 with 4 assists per game versus only 2 turnovers. I just did a video on him. He looks great, offensively, particularly. What have been your thoughts on McCain so far?
Yeah, he's a bucket. I mean, he gives them real juice on the offensive end. We knew this about him. You know, I thought he had real 2-level scoring potential. The game I watched, I think, was the Knicks game. He actually got buckets at all 3 levels at different times in that game. Yeah, let's like ease up on people having unique personalities, or even just like personalities that are like what's the correct personality to be a professional athlete? Like, that's silly. Like, who cares if he like is a little more whatever? Like, I don't pay attention to it. I thought about that when I was watching, get crazy buckets the other night. Is like, yeah, all this stupid stuff about whatever he did on TikTok was a bunch of nonsense. So let's not worry about that stuff anymore. What we do have to worry a little bit about is the point of attack defense. That is a little bit of a struggle for McCain right now.
Yeah. So in the video I broke down the defense too, and it's rough. He got relentlessly attacked last night by Donovan Mitchell, and like consistently has been attacked pretty regularly when he's been out there. Also, like the off-ball defense, like he has moments where like if he's like engaged and like going to dig for a ball, his hands are amazing. Like his hand-eye coordination is awesome. And he can go and get steals, and like in recovery, like he fights back in recovery, but he takes really bad angles around screens. He's very small. Like it's just hard for him to be able to contest and like be able to do shit. So I'm definitely worried on defense, and I am worried on defense about how exactly it's going to work for him when Maxey comes back. Cause I do want to see how those two defend together. I am a little bit worried about it.
Yeah, no, that will be interesting how they, I feel like there's minutes there that like Kyle Lowry, I feel like hasn't been great. Like,
oh, there should be minutes. Like he should be taking all of the Lowry minutes.
Yes. So that's what I'm like, it's just kind of, how does it all work out? Right. In terms of defensively with those two guys. But yeah, I'm glad he's got his chance, and I'm glad he's taking advantage of it. And
yeah.
I'm here for it to see what it looks like. That could be a lot of fun offensively.
He's so good offensively. Like the shot is so balanced all the time. He does such a good job of hunting and relocating and just constantly finding open threes. Like in the shot, he is a 40% 3-point shooter. Like that dude, full belief in that. Like he is a really valuable offensive player from day one. And, I had a lottery grade on McCain. Like I loved him. I thought he was such a good player, and I'm really, really glad for him right now. I think he looks great.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking back at my notes. I said I love the form, and I said I thought I bought his jumper more than anybody in the class. So totally. I maybe didn't buy into some of the other stuff. Maybe I worried too much about his stuff. I had him right outside the lottery, but it definitely looks good.
Him and Reed were the two.
Yeah.
Look, I think I would still take Edey for Rookie of the Year over McCain right now, but it's like purely role based.
Yeah.
McCain's run here has been more impressive than anybody else's.
Yes.
So far, it's just, at the end of the day, like I just worry about what the role will be once Paul George and Tyrese Maxey get back.
Sure.
Okay. Dalton Knecht is next at number 17. Knecht is averaging 7.3 points, 1.8 rebounds, 1.3 assists, shooting 45-37 in 18 minutes a night. It's been really like solid on offense. He's making catch and shoot threes. He just is really, really poor on defense right now. And it's driving me crazy.
I saw someone the other day on Twitter, something about like, did we know Dalton Knecht wasn't good on defense in college or something like that? And I was like, yes, like we talked about this.
Yes, we knew that, folks.
We knew that
that
was part of the conversation, but we knew he was a 3-level bucket getter at Tennessee, had some of the biggest scoring, outbursts last year in some of those games. And we've kind of seen that. Even if you look at the game log, Sam, he's coming off a game where he scored 19 and was 5 of 5 from 3 against the Grizzlies on Wednesday. But in the games before that, 5-2, 3, 5-5, go back to the Cavaliers game where he scored 18 and then 0 and then 10 the game before that. So maybe it's a little bit just kind of like filling out his role here and there. I believe in Dalton Knecht as a scorer. He actually had a nice lob pass in transition last night as well. I don't have a whole lot of worries offensively. It's just like he's got to figure out how to, drop those hips, bend his knees, get in a stance, and be impactful on the. Can he ever get to neutral defensively? Because if he gets to neutral defensively, then that offense potential, what I think he could be offensively, is a really valuable combination.
Yeah, I'm a little bit skeptical he's going to get to neutral on defense, given how old he is already.
Sure.
And given where he's starting at, like, it's going to take some time. And like, he has less time than other rookies do, right? Like, Dalton is he turned 24 this year?
I was gonna say I was gonna say 24 or turning 24. He is 23. His birthday's in April, so he'll play most of his rookie season at 23.
Yeah. So look, the offense is great. I will say, like, I haven't seen a lot of the self-creation stuff yet. I think he can do some of that, like in advantage situations. So like, I'm curious, like maybe in a game where, LeBron and Austin are out or something, like maybe we see him get some reps occasionally, but I want to see kind of where it goes with him first on offense and on defense, before like getting crazy about him. Sure. Because like he is somewhat explosive, but like he just does not have a lot of flexibility, I feel like.
Yeah.
And being a little bit older, like I don't know if that's going to come at some point.
Yeah. It will be interesting. Yeah. And I would like to see one of those games as well, where, they have a couple guys out and it's like, okay, well, let's really run this offense through Dalton Knecht and just kind of see how he handles that. Cause we did see some of that self-creation at Tennessee where they just gave him the ball and said, go get a bucket.
Yep. Okay. We have like 5 more rookies we have to get through.
Okay.
Tristan da Silva is next. He went 18th overall. He's like starting for the Orlando Magic and has been generally pretty useful for them. I think like he was number 16 for me in the rookie rankings this week. He's not efficient as a shooter or scorer, but he moves the ball well. He generally knows where to be on defense. He's just skinny right now. He's a guy where I trust the shot and I think he will make shots at some point. And he's another one like Risacher where I like the process of how it looks when I watch him.
So this was the one I was most nervous about because I have not watched the Magic since the Paolo injury, and I have not seen.
Fun.
I know, and so this happened last episode with somebody as well. I think the Mavs I hadn't watched yet, and so of course they had played the Nets like the next game, so I watched my 7th Nets game of the season. I have not seen the Tristan da Silva minutes, so I have learned that it's better to shut up whenever you don't have the necessary data than to try to fake it. So I will abstain from this part of the conversation.
Yeah. And Tristan knows like where he needs to be is my biggest thing. Like when I watch him, I'm just like, okay, like he looks like he belongs relatively with the starters. He makes quick decisions. He processes the game in the right way. He's not been like overly usage heavy or overly productive or anything like that. But generally when I watch him, I'm like, okay, he's in with the starters right now for the most part, but like, it looks like he should be, or at least like, it looks like it makes sense for him to be there. Like, has Anthony Black been better than he's been? Yeah, for sure. Like Anthony Black looks really good right now, but in general, like I'm good with them using Tristan in this way to try and get, Franz Wagner, more touches and get him a little bit freer. Cause even though he's, I think, making a lower percentage from 3 than Anthony Black is, he gets guarded like a shooter a little bit more than AB does.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that what I can say is that sounds a lot like what I thought he was coming out of college. Right. And so we're seeing that track, which is always, I mean, I guess as an evaluator, it's good, but you want to see the things you thought guys were good at, then be good at that in the NBA. And so it sounds like he's been able to take it and translate it to this level.
Okay. Jacoby Walter went 19th overall. He has been the least played because he was hurt a little bit early on. Rookie in Toronto to this point. Jonathan Mobo, Jaylen Wells, and then a little bit of Jamison Battle as well. I know the numbers say that Jamal Shed has been like harmful to Toronto when he's been on the court, like the on-offs and stuff. I feel like when I've watched Shed, I've been like, this looks good. Like the process here looks good. He is super active on defense, which we knew. He's passing the ball pretty well. I feel like when I've watched him, I've been like, this makes sense and this is pretty good.
Yeah, I kind of have the same notes. Like he gets in the paint and you know what he does? He gets in the game and then he touches the paint. And
yeah,
he picked AD for a run out steal. He's had that kind of impact in the games I've watched. Like it, you know how it's like sometimes you watch a game and you're like, man, I didn't even really notice that guy was out there. Maybe I should rewind. That's not Jamal Shead. Like Jamal Shead gets on the floor and I notice that he is on the floor, and usually in a positive way. Now, the one negative thing is still the jumper, but I'm kind of with you. He gets after it defensively. I think he's going to make second unit point guards' lives miserable, like just picking them up full court and getting after them. Yep. Had an off ball rotation still, multiple defensive impact plays. So I just, and I think in both games I've watched, he's hit like an interesting floater. One of them, same foot, same hand. I'm intrigued. You were the Jamal Shead guy on this podcast. You know, you talked me into him. I probably wouldn't have even had him where I did, which was lower than you still. I think he looks like he could potentially be a backup point guard in this league. So the analytics don't like him. They're not a fan.
The on-offs are not great.
Okay.
Yeah. Like it's been, because look, he can't score is part of the issue too. Like he has no real way to get a bucket right now, but he's passing the ball well. And when he gets paint touches, like just naturally teams do have to collapse a little bit at least. And that's been useful for Toronto. But I think the process for Shed has generally been pretty good so far. The next guy is John Mobo. Mobo's been pretty interesting too, in all honesty, I've felt like. Has kind of been what he was at San Francisco, just playing the 4 instead of the 5. Defends, reasonably well on the ball. Passes the ball super well. Like you can see passes that are super high level, even when they don't end up being assists, I feel like, for him. Again, like I don't totally know how he's going to score in the NBA. That continues to be like a real question for me, except off of like cuts and in transition, because he's shooting 17% from 3 and I don't really like the jumper. But by and large, like Mobo, again, looks like an NBA player at least.
Yeah. Off ball cutting, play finishing, active hands defensively. One of those games, he kind of was like running the hub of the offense. Like they were running it through him a little bit, catching at the elbow, high post, and then guys would cut backdoor. I like the passing. I love the offensive rebounding, but as you said, has to figure out the score. Like literally word for word in my notes, Sam has to figure out the scoring to be a real player in the league. Like he has to figure that out a little bit. I had Kevon Looney as a comp in the pre-draft process. And so I'm kind of interested if he can carve out that type of career for himself.
He's just way smaller is the issue.
Yeah.
Like Kevon is like big and like super long. Mobo is super long, but I don't know. Like I think he's more of a 4 than a 5.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
Okay. And then Jameson Battle's just been like shooting when he's been in, for the
Which
most
is what
part.
he does.
Like that's what he does.
Yep.
Yeah, he can fire from 3.
Yes,
we know
he can.
that.
Yep.
Okay. Next guy we need to talk about is Yves Missi, because Jalen Tyson's played 25 minutes and I don't even know if I've seen Jalen Tyson on the court yet for the Cavs. And I've watched like a good number of Cavs games at this point.
I think I have as well. And I have not either.
Yves Missi though, I think he is like 2nd or 3rd in minutes among all rookies, averaging 6.9 points, 6.3 rebounds, shooting 55.7 from the field, 1.6 assists. That's the number that like has been surprising to me, because I don't know if he passed the ball at Baylor really much at all. Actually, by the end of the year, that's not fair. By the end of the year, he actually got pretty okay in some of those actions that they would run him at, where they would play 5 out and have him at the top. The thing that just immediately pops is the athleticism. I mean, he is like a holy shit level. This is a joke. This dude is unbelievable athletically. And we knew that going into the draft, like just looking through the draft guide right now. I ranked Missi, I think, at like 20 or so. So like right around where he went. And it's just like, oh, this dude's just like a total laughable athlete at the end of the day. So I've loved this. He looks like an NBA player to me. I think all of this makes sense. Elite physical tools, played above the rim as often as anyone in college basketball last season. I think you can say that about Yves Missi in the NBA too.
Yeah, good play finisher. A game against the Nets. I realize Claxton's not the most physical big guy, but he had an awesome block where Claxton put his shoulder into him. He gave up a little bit of ground, but regained his balance. And then off a straight vertical elevation, rejected Claxton at the rim. Like, it was really, really impressive. When he can keep his position, he's a good rebounder, obviously on the boards. Showed a little bit of the face-up ability. We did see at Baylor. You mentioned the top of the key. So I think long-term, that's something to watch with him. I still question the passing. Actually, there was a one in this game where he short rolls, was slow to make the read, and then the pass made Brandon Ingram extend his arms all the way above his head just to catch it, let alone putting it in his actual shooting pocket. So, I mean, it's early, but it just kind of stood out to me that, you see some of these short roll guys make a quick read, put it on time, on target. Missi, I think, Derek Lively is like the name that always comes to mind. Like, I always come away very impressed with Lively's passing. That would be another thing that Missi would need to add to kind of be this elite ball screen offensive player. But, being selected, in the 20s, being a rookie, and on a team that needs center play, I think he's done really well.
Yeah, and he is just nowhere near as good of a player overall as Lively, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, just in terms of positioning on defense, in terms of the passing, all that stuff. But athletically, he's a better athlete than Derek Lively. I know that. Like, he can jump and can move in a real way.
Yeah.
Looks like the Clint Capella when he was younger idea is still pretty similar to what I've been envisioning when I watch him.
Yep. I like it.
Okay, Deron Holmes not playing. Get well soon, Deron. AJ Mitchell not play, or AJ Johnson, not AJ Mitchell, not playing for the Milwaukee Bucks. We have gone through Kyshawn George already. Pacom Dadier not playing. Dylan Jones not really playing. Terrence Shannon Jr. not really playing. Next player, Ryan Dunn with the Phoenix Suns.
The shooter, right? The shooter, right? The
shooter
out of,
yeah,
the shooter out of Virginia. The
shooter.
The shooter. Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah. The guy is shooting 38% from three so far this season after making
12.
Virginia.
12.
He made 12 threes and shot 23.5% from three. Unbelievable. I mean, look, Ryan Dunn looks like a lottery pick right now. Undeniably. Now, I don't know like what the ceiling is necessarily, because I have not seen much of anything on the ball. And honestly, so I'll ask you this. I think he's been a good defender to this point. I think he's been like a really solid, valuable defender. I don't think he's been as good as like Herb Jones was as a rookie or like somebody like that. But I think he's been like a really, really good defender for Phoenix to this point. What has been your thought on Ryan Dunn's defense?
I think what stood out the most is just the activity. He kind of just gets his hands on everything, right? Like on ball, off ball, on a rebound, chase down blocks, stuff like that. I think that's what stands out the most to me with his defense right now. I want to watch a little closer and get a bigger sample of like kind of the on ball lockdown type thing. How good is he there against elite wing players? And that's a little unfair for a rookie, but that's what we're talking about with him on the defensive end.
Yeah.
So I think he's been impactful just with his length, his athleticism, his activity. How good is he going to be just staying in front, guarding guys, getting through screens, those type of things?
That's also my question. I mean, in terms of the shot, I truly think that this is just like confidence. I think he's also made some like mechanical tweaks, like at the top with his hand placement and stuff like that. We need to like kind of run a little bit quicker here. So I don't know how much detail I want to like totally dive into there, but more than anything to me, it's a confidence thing.
Yeah.
Like
I
he looks so much more confident shooting. There were times at Virginia, he would not look at the basket for like 10 minutes straight in a game. And this is not exaggerating. He had like multiple games last year in the last half of the year where he had like 4 or fewer shots in a game. Like it was wild watching Ryan Dunn last year. But man, a lot of people would say like the shot wasn't broken. I agree. Like mechanically it wasn't broken, but I don't know. Like I thought there was a lot that need fixed. Like when I watched him, like, I mean, I'll just run through the draft guide here real quick. Like when we were talking about it, or like, as we're talking about it, I mean, I ended up with him at 29 on my board. So right around where he went. And the jumper issues for me were it looks very wooden and stilted, even though it doesn't look broken. Extremely wide base beyond the shoulders sometimes, other times more in line with the shoulders. Sometimes goes straight up and down, sometimes has like a sway and sweep with his legs. Entire body looks stiff sometimes, and then has like a hitch plus an inconsistent release. Like there were a lot of little mechanical issues with Dunn's shot. I would say like he's basically cleaned them up. And I think a lot of it comes down to the base and like the rhythm coming up from the base more than anything. I would bet that's what Phil Beckner and those guys worked on most. But yeah, like, I mean, he looks comfortable shooting the ball now, which is something he did not look last year.
Yeah, no, that was my immediate notes, was he just looks confident. He's staying confident. I've watched games where he's missed multiple in a row and you're like, okay, is this the stretch? Like, I think I'm kind of waiting, not because I prey on a young man's downfall, but like, is it going to break at some point where he missed, he goes 2 for 20 or something like that. And it just hasn't happened. He continues to respond even after some misses. And I think that's the ultimate sign of that confidence.
Dead on. I think that couldn't be more right. And then defensively, like he has been valuable. Like he had a bunch of really great moments on LeBron. In that game against the Lakers, the second game particularly. So he's definitely good on defense. I want to see where the defense settles. He might be like really good on defense, but he hasn't quite been like the hyper elite defender that you and I might have thought he could be coming in. Okay, Collier hasn't played. Shireman hasn't played. We've talked Mobo. We've talked Filipowski. Next guy we have to go all the way down to, and I think that this might be the last guy we have to talk about, is Ajay Mitchell.
Yep. That's what I have.
Ajay Mitchell this year has been so helpful for Oklahoma City.
Where'd you have him?
I had him in the first round.
No. Where'd you have him in the rankings today?
Oh, 7th or 8th or something. 8th. Yeah.
Okay.
I had him.
Nice.
Where would you have him?
I didn't go all the way through, like just off McCain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What'd you say? 8th?
8th.
Yeah, I could probably get him in the top 10 if I really got into it. I watched the game against the Rockets, though. He was awesome. Pressured the lane at will, driving kick, driving quick scoop finish, driving floater, driving mid-range pull-up. Just talk about confidence, uncanny confidence for him playing on a title contender, the best team in the league for my money, especially when they're healthy. And then one of my favorite plays of the game, Sam, like I love nothing more than this. When a guard comes in, he gets a weak side rotation box out on Steven Adams. And I just love it. Like the big guy rotates over, tries to get a block, and AJ rotates in, and it's impactful. Like it showed up. He boxed Steven Adams out.
Every little thing.
Grabbed the rebound. And I was like, done. I'm in. I'm sold. I love this guy.
Yeah, the processing is so good. He thinks way quicker than everybody else on the court. The ability to play both on and off ball has been really useful for that team, particularly because they really like to have that flexibility. Okay, let's have Jaylen go on the ball for a minute. Okay, let's have him go off the ball. Okay, let's have Shai go off the ball for a minute. Let's have, Shai go on the ball for a minute. So that flexibility, that versatility, it fits perfectly into their scheme. He's been like the king of the like extra pass for me in the rookie class this year. Jared McCain's catching up, to be clear, but Ajay Mitchell, like he just makes so many like hockey assists and like extra passes to get his team open, easy looks, keep his team in rotation. He attacks closeouts like in perfect timing. And then just like maintains the advantage, sees where the defense is rotating, gets the ball out. He's just really helping them. That's the thing. Like he is helping a great basketball team be great with his presence on the court. I have loved everything I have seen from Ajay Mitchell to this point.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. And they, like you mentioned, they put the ball in his hands and let J-Dub play off ball. And I want to be mad about it because I'm like, no, put the ball in J-Dub's hands in these non-SGA minutes. But AJ's been good enough that it's like, I can't even be mad about it. So
it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And on a team that's that talented, him finding minutes is really impressive.
I agree. Like him earning those minutes is huge. It's so good. I mean, I haven't been like particularly impressed with what I've seen from Dylan Jones. To speak to the other Oklahoma City rookie, and then Topic has obviously been out. So yeah, I mean, look, like I've heard that like Pele Larson looks good. I mean, you watched the Heat, I guess, a couple nights ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't watched him yet in all honesty.
I mean, he didn't play a bunch of minutes. I don't think he stood out in a crazy positive way in that game.
And I guess like the other guy we should mention is Oso. Like he gets occasional minutes in Phoenix. Looks okay. Looks small for the position he plays, which is concerning.
Yeah.
But, 3 points, 3 rebounds per game, that kind of stuff. Nothing too crazy. Hook Porty has played a couple minutes here and there, and I think he's been pretty okay as well. But, we're not going to dive deep into the Hook Porty show as much as I would love to.
Keaton Wallace with Atlanta, the 25-year-old rook.
Yeah, I mean, is he a rookie? Did he not play last year at all?
So that's what I keep asking. I guess not, because I keep seeing him show up in rookie stuff.
Yeah, I guess he didn't. This is his first year. How about that?
Yeah.
I mean, he's been around for a long time in the G League. I mean, shout out Keaton Wallace, Kayson's brother, for people who don't know. He's awesome. I love Keaton Wallace, I've loved watching him play. I think he's been super useful for Atlanta. Yeah, I don't have a ton to say more about him.
No, it was
than that.
No, I just, I turned on a Hawks game, wasn't expecting, and it's like, okay, what do we got here? And it's like, okay, it's kind of nice, plays hard, impactful. This is interesting. So
yeah, I've enjoyed it. Okay, Bryce, that's all we got today.
Perfect.
Tell the people where they can find your work. Tell the people what's going on.
Yeah. So at Motor City Hoops on Twitter, and as of this afternoon, Blue Sky as well. So if anybody's making that transition, you can follow me over there. I post all of the Pistons. Hey, Pistons are playing interesting basketball, if nothing else, guys. So if you want to lock in and watch some games and read some breakdowns over at the Motor City Hoops Substack, I'm going to record right now on another Pistons podcast, The Order of the Blazing Horse, and we are going to put Pistons players in Harry Potter houses. We are going to play the Sorting Hat. This is going to be fun. So if you guys are into Harry Potter and Detroit Pistons, we got the episode for you. Otherwise,
Holland is for sure a Slytherin.
Don't ruin it, Sam. We got to chill. So is Isaiah Stewart, by the way. Otherwise, I'm here at Game Theory Podcast with Sam Vecenie, the Sam Vecenie.
Go to The Athletic. Keep me employed over there. I did rookie rankings over on the website today. Went into detail on some of these guys even more than what we did here, in all honesty. So if you want to see my rankings, go over there. Subscribe to The Athletic. Keep me employed. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think if I've got anything else. Yeah, I mean, like I'm up over on Blue Sky. Like I feel like I've been using Blue Sky a little bit more than Twitter recently, but like I also have ADHD and I like new toys. So like that's probably why. Follow me over on Blue Sky, follow me over on Twitter, follow all of the Game Theory shows. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, also on Blue Sky. Game Theory Sam V, our fearless leader, Andrew Claudio, is out here in the streets helping with social for the show. Trying to think if we've got anything else. No trivia today. Bryce needs to go do real things. Maybe we'll double dip on trivia if Andrew is around on Sunday, but maybe not. We'll see.
Gotcha.
We'll see. We'll let you know ahead of time on that. And yeah, maybe we'll do tank rankings through the first week for Sunday as well. So we went through the best teams last week. We can go through the worst teams this week.
Perfect.
All right. This has been the Game Theory Podcast. Please remember, rate, review, subscribe, do everything you can to support the show. Subscribe over on YouTube, Game Theory podcast with Sam Vecenie. We will be back on Sunday. I don't think I will do a post-game theory between now and the stream that Bryce and I do. There's a chance, but I think my guess is probably no. But I just literally recorded one. So go watch me break down Wemby's 50 ball, Donovan Clingan, and Jared McCain. Those will all go up as separate videos once Andrew gets to them. But that's all we got. Until next time, we'll talk soon.